If you like this video, click on that subscribe button and be notified of more great ideas. I've got a fairly good collection of taps, and I've organized them into tap sets. I've used square blocks of wood in various sizes depending on the taps. Now, you usually have in a tap set, it's nice to have a lead tap, which has some taper on the end here, quite a bit of taper usually more than this one. And then also an intermediate tap, which has some taper, but not as much as the lead tap. And finally, a bottoming tap where there's next to no taper at the end at all. So you have your 3 taps, that's 3 holes you're going to need in the block at least. And then you'll need another hole in the block for your tap drill. This is the drill that you use to drill the hole that you're going to thread. So when you've got your hole threaded using the tap drill, you'll need a clearance drill. And your clearance drill is to drill a hole in a larger piece, or a larger hole, not necessarily a larger piece, but you're going to have to slide a bolt through that hole. It won't fit through the tapped hole. That's why you need the clearance hole, and then you can screw the bolt into your threaded hole and clamp down, and the 2 pieces are held together. So I have organized most of my taps this way. I don't have full sets. It's hard to come by all of this stuff. It takes a while of collecting in order to get there. And we'll take a look at some of my other sets. As you can see, I've been collecting for a while. While we're talking about taps, a couple of other things that should be mentioned. After you've tapped your hole and removed your tap, you can get that thread nice and clean by taking a piece of rag, just like this one, just a little square cut out, and put your tap back in the hole and go through that hole again with the rag in there. That'll clean out all the threads very nicely, and also clean off the end of your tap. Take that back out and have a look at that. Oops, I dropped her down on the floor. Now you can see the dirt and the little chips that came out of there. Let's clean that up very nice. When you put your bolt through that, it's not going to jam up. It'll be easy to turn. And it also cleaned off the end of our tap very nicely as well. The other thing to remember is that you should always use some type of lubricant. Personally, I like the Rapid Tap. Works great for me. And one more thing to mention is that some materials are harder to tap than others. Something like a piece of angle iron from an old bed frame, who knows what they poured into the mix for this. It could have very hard spots. If you're having trouble tapping a hole, it could mean that you have your tap not perpendicular to the hole that's drilled in the surface that you're tapping. And you just need to make sure that you do get close to 90 degrees, or it's going to get tough. The farther you go in, the tougher it gets. Now, if you're having trouble getting that hole tapped because you're tapping a tougher material, one way to get around it and get that tap finished is first use a tap that has somewhat of a lead on the front. And when it gets tough, take it out of there and use a bottoming tap to do the next few threads. Then take that out of there and go back to the other tap and keep switching back and forth like that until you've got your hole threaded all the way through. I found that very useful. It may be time consuming, but you do get the job done usually with that method. Now, when you're putting those tap sets together, you're probably going to need a reference so that you know what size your tap drill should be and what size your clearance drill should be. So I've put a link below in the description to a chart provided by the little machine shop, and that's a nice chart. You might find that useful.